how about some partners, or let me say husband, that got married to someone with sickle cell, and it's just a person that they allowed to be doing everything. And even though they know the impact of what sickle cell is all about, but they just refuse to support. I mean, when it comes to financial aspect, they just refuse to support. They left everything to the woman.
We have to look at this, that we are first and foremost human beings, regardless of condition. So sickle cell doesn't totally define us. It does affect us, but it doesn't define who we are. Right? Why? Our character would always show and present itself. As a man, even if the person had married a non-sickle cell, might still have been a horrible person. Because by nature, they might have been just psychopath anyway. Lady or man was just unfortunate to have met. And of course, you do have a few men who I would say they act like prey animals. So they look for, they are attracted to vulnerable people. They present themselves as being good, helpful, but at the end of the day, they might abuse you, unfortunately. So this is just, it's not a sickle cell factor. It's a general human being factor. Some of us are good. Some of us become bad. Some of us, I don't know whether anybody's born bad. It's just basically our choices because human beings appear in my awareness where we are driven by power and control. So it's being able to control sometimes somebody, of lording over them sometimes. So I don't think it's driven strictly by sickle cell. It's just unfortunately just the power dynamics within that household or within that relationship. That's why we have women. We talk about domestic abuse. It's a big general thing. It's not something that's just peculiar to a race or age group or wherever. And it's not because of sickle cell, but they're still abused. So the person is, because it's so power-driven and control-driven, is so out of tune with the vulnerability of the people around them. Hence this situation of that person you're talking about, which is a shame. Yeah.
Anyway, that's a very good answer, because as I said, it's not even about maybe the person is a sickle cell or it's not a sickle cell. It's just the attitude of the person, or maybe the person is taking the person as an advantage. Over there.
It's just an abuser.
It's an abuse. But they might not see it that way. That is an abuse.
Well, when you're in love, that's why I talk about as I said, domestic violence or abuse. The victims never see it as an abuse for a long, long time. They see it that the person loves me. That's why they're doing this. And because even when people are in that dysfunctional situation, it's a cat and mouse, where the person will not come back. I didn't mean, I apologize. And the whole thing starts again. It's about we being aware of this cat and mouse situation, and not being a victim to that, which some of us, because we're now a bit more aware in this age in the Western world about that psychological profiling. We didn't know that as abuse growing up. It was like a woman just have to stay put, you're married, stay put, and it's like you trying to struggle to get the man to come if they can. And, I had to remember somebody's telling me that Ileyawo means Ileyawo. I'm trying to understand what that yawo, what about? Oh, it's as a place of suffering or something. Why do you have to suffer? Because you have to hold your house together. It was that concept of, So the people come from different backgrounds, and of course we are also vulnerable. We have some of us are scared of being alone. That's where again the power of God for me is we are never alone. We are at one with God. We are never alone. We are at one with our Creator. We have the Spirit within us. It's about tapping into your consciousness, and knowing that you are not alone, and being empowered, and being supported, and being guided. And so it's a level of development for some people as well. you talk about having faith in Christ, which is true, but it's also just being aware of the creator of this world. We didn't create anything. We didn't even decide which family to join when we're being born. Whether I was going to be born to a family with the sickle cell traits, or whether I was going to be born to a family, a Caucasian family, or this family, or no. We didn't. So that's why I use the word, it's a card we've been dealt. It's a life we've been dealt. It's about the lemons we've been given, how much lemonade we can make with it. So it's a very big, but we're all individuals, and like I also mentioned previously, it affects us in very varying degrees and severity. So it's easy for maybe me not being severely affected to say something else, so that I'm not putting down other people, I'm not comparing notes, because I'm aware that some people are terribly, terribly affected, that it now affects their whole life, because from not being able to even have basic education to employability, is talking about being able to live a life, so the whole thing just cascades and cascades, and it's like, when is this ever going to end? Wow. Some people who have some form of what we can start with, and it's building on it. So
wow, actually most of the questions I really want to ask you, you've really covered in your discussion, but this one, have you, I know you're a career woman because you got so much in your plate. Have you ever, at some point, struggled with finance?
Yes, I have struggled with finance. I know I suppose nothing is true until you probably have to say the truth sometimes.
Say the truth. Yeah, shame.
When we had to go to Nigeria, when my grandfather came to take us away from the UK, my dad had left my mom at that point in time. So that's where my grandfather came, and then saw the situation and said, "Oh, you can't just be on your own," and took us back to Africa. But being a single parent in Africa is never easy. It was so it was a struggle. So we had time. She did the best. She was a qualified human resources. She was a manager for a long time, but in between sustaining, there are two sicklers. My brother Afton is also a sickler. And then, but there were four of us at one point in time. She also wanted to obviously have relationships, so eventually had two other children. So she had six. So there were times where there was not enough resources for family. The other psychological side of it is that the attitude of my parents at that time, my mom is now late, but I did challenge her, managed to challenge her while she was alive, because it's just nice to be truthful. The investment that you probably invest in children was a bit lacking for me as a person. So when I did challenge, and it was something, whether it's true or not, they're both late now, it was a decision that my dad, that's the fault. I don't know. I'm just quoting my mom now. They had said not to invest too much in us because we were going to die early.
Oh dear.
So the idea of encouraging you to go to school, encouraging you that you can become basically future planning was not there. All right. So sometimes that goes to basic things. Now, so that's a longer time impact, and that one just, so the thinking that you were being guided was not there. Was also where just things that you might need, because we didn't run a pocket money that you now have your own money to do. So yes, I'd grown with that money as a young person. In fact, that's what probably led me to sewing, because I couldn't even afford to buy the ready-made uniform. It's a bit shameful now, because I don't know who's going to be watching this video. And so I had to learn. That's why I started learning to try and make my school uniform. But what they say, a need brings out a solution. So this is how this idea of sewing so early on. My grandmother was a sewing mistress, so the machine was there, everything. So it was about getting that cheap material and trying to sew. It was a bit wonky, but I still made my uniform. So this has, as a young teenager started sewing. So yes, I've had periods where I've had to make do. By the time, obviously, I came back to the UK, what you call economic needs in UK, obviously, I've come back as a graduate, and I've come back as a scientist. So I was fortunate that it was a skill and an education required in the UK. So I never did manual work in the UK. To work as a professional from the very beginning. So, but it didn't mean that it was enough either, particularly by the time I met my husband then and got into a mortgage, and then we started having children and paying for childminder. I mean, there was a time that the childminder, in fact, it's not there was a time throughout the childminding bill, it was always more than the mortgage at that point in time.
Wow.
And making do exactly, and then the basic things you want to do. But I also had this drive from very early on, which I think you said in my blog you read earlier, that it's not about how long we live, but about the quality of life, which I always say with the children with a capital Q, quality with a capital Q. I'm emphasizing that, that we live. So I've always been driven by that, because you don't. So there's no point of me planning for this number of years at that time. So it was meandering around that, managing that drive where you are currently. So, like the holiday thing started with that, to see a bit of the world the best you can while you're there. And I also know as a Sickler, we can't afford to postpone, because Oluwalo Mojo. I don't know how long. So I can't say I'll do it next year.
It's not even only Sickler, it's for everybody.
No, but it's just that we are more, we've grown early to know. So that's another privilege of being a Sickler. You are aware of death much early on. You are aware much early on. Maybe some people, it's not until they get to this age that, oh, this is a threat. But you are aware of living with the condition. That is a revelation. That's a strength. So you've got actually that experience of living with that kind of thing, much than other people who are. My mom, when she was diagnosed with cancer, was really thrown by it, because she had planned she was going to live forever. And it was like, everybody lives with a condition, So you could be I'm a half full cup person. I'm not a half empty, that kind of thing. So that half cup, I can do exploits with that. I don't have 100%, but at least I have 50. I can do things with it. What can let me do? So I approach life with that as a person. That's my own individual person. Some other people are they're gonna have to wait until I have this. That what can I do with 50%? What can I do with 50p? What can I do with £1? That kind of what can I do with half? So because of our personality, these are our personality traits anyway. Remember, this has got to do with sickle cell. So this is where things start layering about who we are as a person, as a condition, So what I learned to shop in the market. People thought it was very, down class to have to go to a market. Unfortunately, we end up with a very good market area where I end up living and all that. Learning to shop when there's sale. Even I taught the children about shopping when it's sale. So for instance, I would only give money voucher for Christmas, so I wouldn't buy the Christmas thing expensive when they were young. So we go Boxing Day to pick up the same jumper that was £50 then, that is now £25. So you can actually get 2 jumpers. So we that I thought it was learning to make your money stretch is what I would say. And I always use the word of Yoruba about what was it that went to my head? There's a Yoruba word about and I can't remember it now anyway. Oh, I wish I could
paraphrase it in English.
It's making it stretch. I just said it. Yeah, it's making your money stretch. Yeah, it was making your money stretch. But I was doing also by the Yoruba word about that there's a word about making it's almost like it's not about your income. It's about how you use your income. But there's a word in Yoruba. I know, don't worry, it's me. But I was really anchored into that word for when I was young as well, and up to now actually. I forgot what it is. So moving on, so it's about making it stretch. Yeah, I talk about bulk buying. So you're raising a family. These are hard times of paying for childminder, paying for this, growing clothes. The boys were growing quite quickly, buying shoes every time because of the football, and they've kicked the boot open anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's about making it stretch, so I think it's about that. It's about minimizing. So it's about even knowing which stores are better. And in UK, people are not aware, but you have sometimes similar. It's not the same thing. Very expensive in one departmental store, but it's slightly cheaper. And this is a date before our Lidl and Aldo that everybody's embracing now. And you know which supermarket is slightly better. And the same thing you could get in the market. You know what basket of fruits we could get and how much I could get a small portion in the supermarket. So there's enough fruits for for children to eat, and that one. Yeah.
Wow, you're a real typical African woman.
Yes.
That's really good. I just really like the spirit. I like that sincerity, because the Bible even tells us to train a child in the way they should follow, so that when they grow, they will not depart from it. And that what you were quoting, that if you have something, if it's only 150, half of something, you need to make use of it.
Yeah.
I think you're reminding me about the parable of the talents.
Yeah.
The parable of the talent. You have one, and multiply one. Don't go and bury that one you have.
We had people who buried it, but we also had somebody in the same parable who didn't do anything before fear of losing.
Exactly. The one that has the 5, it multiplied it to become 10, and the one with the 2 multiplied to become 4, and the one with the 1. So everybody, God has
That's a personality difference, is what I alluded to. That's a personality difference. Yeah. So we are different people. So. Is it God that created us that way? Is that who they, that's who they are? That's that kind of thing. Where, going back to where we started or where we are in this area, where this becomes a problem is when you're in a relationship and one person is that and one person is that. How do you have a single view for direction? That's a challenge. And that's my personal challenge as well. Wow. So, because I'm so ambitious, I'm very driven, I'm very that one. Some people are happy with the mate do. They're contented. It's not I'm not contented. I am very contented with life. But I'm also knowing that there's more one can do with whatever rather than being okay. I'm not telling you okay. And that it might be a blessing or a curse that God had created me with, but I'm a stage of being content. But when I was in my heydays of growing, doing that one, it was making the best as well as being, and then allows us to afford. I talk about traveling, allows to be able to afford to travel by saving the every penny. Here and there, you have the pound to be able to have a good experience with the family, But if you spent all the money there, then you're denying yourself something as well. So again, so those are the kind of things that probably can, and maybe some sicklers are like me from that aspect, maybe they are not. But when you have 2 different personalities with different worldviews, very strenuous in a relationship.
That's really good. You're very intelligent, and I really appreciate that. That's really good.
Welcome.
That's really good. In fact, that's really gonna thank you so much for just being open and being sincere. And actually, this question keep coming. Let me just ask it. I know because you've covered a lot of ground, and we're going to be rounding up now. I just have 2 more questions. And because you said mommy and daddy separated, does that really have an impact on you personally? Based on your health? It's good sometimes when you have both parents together, and now we have a sickle cell child, and mommy has this knowledge, daddy have that knowledge, they're all together there, nursing the child, helping the child. I know you gave a little bit of when you're talking about your finances challenges and all that, but this breakup, I'm talking about separation or divorce, has it ever have an impact on yourself or your health? Or maybe have you ever think of it one day, maybe you're admitted in the hospital, when you were admitted in the hospital, and you're thinking, oh, maybe if mommy is with me or if daddy is with me, you understand? Have you ever in that lonely or state?
That's a soul searching one. Like I said, we went back when I was much younger to Nigeria. So what I can remember of them together is just even before, I knew I had pain, but I didn't even know what the pain sickle cell was. I was uncomfortable to know the idea of whether if they were there together to guide. And even when I have a mom, a single mom, people have to acknowledge and accept that not everybody's emotional. Right. And, it's not a crime. It's just who they are.
Yeah, sure.
In majority of Africans, They show love by provision. They don't show love by the touchy feeling. We have to accept that. We shouldn't muddle water about, you could either have a parent talking to you from here or hold your hand, or somebody who's making sure that you're not hungry.
Yeah. True. Have you eaten? Provide all this for you, and that's it.
Yes. So the touchy feeling, that one, have you been there? That if you had, I didn't have, and I didn't have it as a gap. It wasn't missing from me. What I would say, as I was growing as an individual, was I knew that I had to have my independence financially. But it's probably because I wasn't in UK, so I wasn't cushioned or even, I would say, disadvantaged by the knowledge that I have a state to help me. I knew there was no state, so it's new. There's nobody, there. Because sometimes maybe when you think you've got a cushion or you have a rich parent, sometimes you lose your drive for life.
True.
I'm seeing this, whatever we're trying to say, as a positive thing for me, that it formed me rather than being a disadvantage. So being that, I actually decided I had to be a graduate, whatever, I had to study. Because we talked about it earlier, where I said people sometimes run away from settling down with a sickler. And I talked about the financial strain and all of that. So my strategy from so early on was, at least I will be able to pay for my own medicine, upkeep my own, and not add that as a strain to my partner. So even before marrying, obviously we were dating every now and then, but it was, so I already had that strategy that it was almost like part of me as an individual anyway. So I was not looking to have somebody who would be the provider and be burnt running around. I was not, because I just felt, I'm totally dependent. It might be the situation where maybe I've got a mindset of, partnership, win-win. Maybe I have that kind of mindset. So I was never, it was never a strain that, because of my condition, not being able to work full time or that one, therefore added a strain. If anything, like I said, I'm terribly ambitious anyway. So, and obviously when you read my blog, we talk about, I want to retire. I can't imagine myself. I expect to be more alive beyond 67, but I can't imagine myself slugging away like I'm doing now until 67, because then where is life? Where is the so-called quality? Where's the so-called experience? When you have this hereditary condition with, these challenges, why would I want to? And this is again where we live in a capitalist country, making you a society rather, and you are doing that. So you can do your best, which is where I talk about. The pennies will build up to make a pound, and not being wasteful or frivolous. So I'm a very practical person by nature. and that's probably some of my strategy, rather than being driven by wanting to be like the Joneses. You will never catch me being like the Joneses. One of the things that's very common in our society is this, what we call ashwebi. I don't do ashwebi.
It's ashwebi.
I find them very frivolous and wasteful, and it's like, where do you stop? If I do your ashwebi, do Sarah's ashwebi, where would I have, So what's your color scheme? But it's because I am a strong personality. I can stand and do that and not be driven, because I'm not driven by the Joneses. But some people feel, they want to belong, and therefore their belongingness is about blending in. No, I'm happy to be different. I am being different with my condition anyway, so I can continue to celebrate my individuality and my difference in everything I do.
That's good. In fact, that's really good, because I know a lot of people, they just want to be everywhere, ashwebi, and this ashwebi is putting a lot of people into mess. Not even sickle cell, even normal people.
That's exactly.
Because I remember one
sickle cell focused thing,
Exactly. I remember one of my she's a pastor too. I think she relocated from the States, and she was saying that when they were because all the children have grown up, so they have this massive property and they have to downsize. So they have to buy a smaller property. Yeah, exactly. So what happened now is that she said when she was packing, she was putting all this Ghana must go, all this Ashwebi, and everything was pouring on the floor. And the husband was like, did you see your life? Did you see your life? You understand? And she said, this is my life, truly. And she said, since then, when they have, because, she's a pastor's wife, she's a pastor, and everybody wants to do.
She became very worldly, basically.
Exactly. And she said, since then, she said she was like, what? Look at all these things. Even how many of these things I do wear to parties.
Yes.
Because once the party is over, that's it, the clothes is just there. And she now said that, you know what, anyone that now call clothes, okay, this is my color. Say, don't
What's the color?
Just send me the color. Exactly. So this Ashwebi, I think this one maybe we'll find another topic to talk about. Because a lot of people, especially if people in kind of your situation, sickle cell, listening to this and they want to please everybody. You can't please everybody.
You can't please everybody.
You can't.
And that's about being strong. You can't please. And it's about accepting you can't. And it's also like, if somebody does, like, particularly, let's imagine I'm talking to like a 21, 18-year-old and it's like, because I want to have friends. Remember we alluded earlier on this, on the relationship, but we only talk about the spousal side rather than just even having friends. And you want to blend in. And this is very common, not just because as a sickler, but obviously sicklers are affected by it. But you have when you depend on your level of confidence, depending on your background, where people want to belong and blend in, and then I want this person to be my friend, and then you bend backwards over to try and please them, to do what they're trying to get you to do or something. And it's about standing your ground, knowing who you are in Christ, in that one, that you're not alone, you're empowered. He that is in you is greater than he that is in the world. Those kind of things. You don't need to over-compromise. You don't need to over-sacrifice. And this, and that stems from even as vulnerable as that age of 12 and 10 or whatever, trying to make sure you have friends too, because you're fearful of you might not have. Your true friends will stay by you. You will find the good ones where you are on the similar trajectory, thinking similar mindset. And those who don't want to understand your situation, why you can't go out with them in the bad winter month, because you could sense the pain coming, and they're all going out to have fun. I missed that on some of that. That's true. I did miss that when everybody's probably happy, because you could sense the background ache is there, that you're not totally 100% and you don't want to get it worse. So of course you stay back. Yes, you do. It's part of the cost of being a sickler. That's very true. But generally, anyway, it's being able to stand your ground, knowing as long as I live, tomorrow is always there. I can do things I have missed out. But if I overdo that one and have a very terrible crisis because I'm trying to please somebody and then I lose my life, what's the point? So you could think of it that way. For me, that's one of my things, that where I would not push myself beyond, hopefully, the boundaries I have. Obviously, I've got life experience, knowing my trigger points, knowing what signs to look at, knowing what is not sense, I've got that one. Or even sometimes where I prepare for, if I definitely need to be somewhere and be in a place, then I have to make sure that I don't strain or stress myself prior to, so I have as much energy prior. Sickle cell is an anemic condition. People forget that. And they're permanently always anemic. And anemia means you don't have energy. Not having, not talk of just not having enough oxygen as well. So you're already anemic anyway. So there's only so much you could do, and it's accepting that. So don't try and pretend to have somebody who has hemoglobin of 12, 14, and you have hemoglobin 7. You can't have them. You can't run with them. You can't chase the balls. You can't do, that is who you are. Making this best of your one lemonade or one lemon, and they have 10 lemons, you have one. You're making the best of your one lemon and make your lemonade. As long as it's lemonade being made, that's fine.
Exactly. Wow. Actually, I was really coming to that to round this up, and which is the question before me: that what are the other options for a sickle cell patient to stay healthy, especially the younger ones? You know, these ones in university now, they want to do like what others are doing. They want to dance. Yeah, it's good to dance. It's good to party, rejoice.
I did all of that. I did. It's just about doing your own, how many you could do. I did all of that. I did where we don't get back until 5 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, I'm in the university campus. Yes, of course. You know, so it's not as if I didn't have the experiences. But like I said, if whether I'm not going to sleep much longer the day before the party starts in the evening, or I sleep the day after properly and rest myself and drink myself. So it's about your strategy.
Okay.
You know, you have to be alive. You know, the whole idea is about quality of life. You have to be alive. You have to experience all of this. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but it's knowing your personal limitations. You know, and what can help you to reduce that limitation probably comes to what talk about the strategy or the food you eat or that one. I know, like I said, where majority of sicklers are disadvantaged because if they're not able to even work, how can I have enough income to afford good food, knowing that good food is expensive? Not that kind of thing. So your greens go a long way. We are taking quite a few painkillers. Some of them have side effects of constipation and all that. You do need your vegetables. All right. I have a preference of my vegetables. I will still eat the odd salad, but I still prefer my African vegetables because maybe they are green, and that would include my ewedu or my people talk about ugu nowadays. These are vegetables that help to improve your hemoglobin. We all take folic acid, but because folic acid is a maybe a manufactured tablet, I'm not sure whether it's as good as the one you get from a food source. In terms of your folate. So having your vegetables goes a long way in your diet. And that, you know, and the green side of it. And so whether you're having broccoli in the UK and your beans and your broad beans and things like that, or whether you're having a lot of the greens, of whether you're having the ewedu I talked about and the ugu and the bitter leaf and the things which I like as well. So your diet is one thing, because our food is medicine. People keep on forgetting that as well. Our food is medicine, so your diet goes a long way. Then we talk about managing your what you expose yourself to. You know, like wrapping around, keeping warm is very important as well. Obviously, because of the anemia, we know we are subjected to infection, which is about this going out and wrapping around, making sure, you know, we are in a society where we do know that apart from maybe other things that could help to boost your immunity, or most of us are on penicillin every day, you know, and other things. So that way, because we do know that infection does trigger crisis against spending, not just maybe a hospital, because a lot of us are managing our crisis at home nowadays, but it still means that you're not available because you're in pain. So taking your antibiotics to help your with the infection, to prevent infection is very, very important. Not stressing yourself emotionally, learning to let go, because I talked earlier about the social psychological impact of it, and we are very, very affected by. When I'm sad, when something disappoints me, I would actually have crisis. I realize I have so serious emotional attachment to my sickle cell. When things, for some reason, so it's again managing our emotional health. If you have to remove yourself from a bad situation, please do remove yourself from a bad situation. Whether it's a bad job where you are not getting along and where it becomes an emotional burden to be in that employment. If you have to skill yourself, look for another one. Don't, because of fear, stay in a bad environment, which would have a long-term repercussion on your own quality of life. So it's important to always try and empower. I'm not saying being selfish. I'm not saying being greedy. But saying that you are in this journey and you have to make the best, and everybody else is not like you anyway. So, so you can't compare yourself. So Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This has been impactful. And I believe that everyone that is going to be listening to this, whether you're sickle cell or you're not even sickle cell, you will gain a lot
Hope so.
from this discussion. So I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. And that is it from us to this today or this afternoon, we're going to say. Okay. So thank you
And it's gloomy day in UK.
Women Days in UK. So viewers and everyone that's been listening to us, I hope you gained one or two things. And if you are in this condition, sickle cell, you can listen to what Madam Tino has said about how to manage yourself and what you should do and what you should not do.
I was supposed to go. So I know we're finishing. Actually, I just realized that we didn't talk about other medical options. I know we are hoping that we'll continue to have pharmaceutical companies to continue to research into the condition. I think because we're a very small number, and I think I alluded slowly when I talk about the financial balance of companies and employing sicklers and all that. Not a lot of people are researching into medical treatment options for sicklers, and that's a shame. And it would be nice that hopefully we do have people there in a position to please commit to improving the quality of life of sicklers. Yes, we are taking responsibility for preventing in the first instance, which is awareness and things like that. The few medicine we had, which we had celebrating, I was on a medical drug trial so many years. One of them was just being pulled off in 2-3 months ago in October, and has been pulled out of the market because of its risk. It was very promising when we started it. It's the Voxelotor, used to be called GPT-440, and then it's not been pulled off of the market, unfortunately, which was another option we had. The other option we had was another trial, which I, something Creslimubad or something like that. Again, it's going to be pulled out. So it's a shame that one of the only treatment now being almost available for us is the dependence on blood transfusion. And that's not very helpful. So I'm hoping that this would help to inspire people to please step in and do something. Yes, it's nice to have more people donating bloods. I'm still, campaigning for that. But it would be nice that if we could do, if there'll be other options available to sicklers. I know we have gene therapy and probably bone marrow transplant, but these are very expensive and risky interventions. Not everybody will qualify for this.
Yeah.
So it would be nice that, that option, but in between all of this, staying healthy, eating healthy, being happy is very important. And that's my own word now.
Yeah. Before I just close this finally, why is it that in UK most of sickle cell they don't get free medication, unlike people that has diabetes and other medical condition? Because sickle cell is something that is a long time anyway. It's not something that is just for life.
Yeah.
So why is it that they excluded? I mean, sickle cell is excluded from getting free medication. Even some people don't even have this what they call blue badge.
I would try not to politicize
that one. Yeah.
This question. Diabetics and sickle cell are not the same. Diabetes is a medical condition being developed for so many reasons, and there are millions of people suffering that. And even when you talk about the tablets in terms of costs, benefits, there is not the same to a need of a sickler, which is now a much smaller population. Where people keep on missing sometimes is that we talked about it before. A lot of sicklers are already on benefit in this country.
Okay.
And when you're on benefit anyway, your prescription is free.
Okay.
It's very few. So very few, yes, unfortunately, when they do threshold management, would be affected. That's just life. You cut something at 50%, somebody who's 51%, or somebody who's 49%. Unfortunately, that's how human beings manage things. And you could be very close to the borderline, and yes, you might feel that why can't they lower it or increase it, and that one. But if we are blessed, or we pray that we are blessed that we can pay. I used to do what we call in the UK prepayment certificates, knowing that, so it's almost like paying for one prescription for the 5 tablets we need to collect. So painkillers, we talk about the folic acid, we talk about the antibiotics and so many things, and it's only one prescription. You're not paying for the 5 tablets. So prepayment certificate is a long way to go. Right. So it's about how do you manage this? That is a win-win. That's my strategy rather than trying to be a victim. Like I said, people and a lot of them are not working because of the unfortunate situation of the condition anyway. So they're all going to get a prescription. That's my take on it. The other take about it is obviously what is Brewbadge for? It's not because you have pain or have that one. It's about mobility.
Mobility, yeah.
So it's about understanding what this is for, rather than, because I have this condition, therefore I should have all of the benefits available. That's not our mindset. Our mindset should be, how are we going to make ourselves normal enough that we are dependent on these freebies? So I have a half full mentality. I know some people are not going to happy about this because I'm not doing the politicizing thing.
No politics. When you do politics,
because it's about the bigger picture. If you do need it, or you need a blood badge, of course you will get it because of the mobility. Because sickle cell anemia does affect I have the hip problem. We've got bone necrosis. So obviously it does affect some people, which is true. But it's not everybody. And of course, when you need it and you're assessed, you will get it. But they cannot give it a blanket that because you have this. We also have a situation that I can see that's broad in the UK, that everybody who's got the mutation of hemoglobinopathy, which is basically even AS, they're not being considered as sicklers.
Really?
So we also have, because it's almost like I'm also entitled because I have got AS. I have people who are able to get cancer. I know people in the past who were able to get cancer fly because they were AS, because they saw it as a big condition before they realized that it doesn't do it. It doesn't limit your life. It doesn't affect you. You're not the homozygous SS. There's a difference. But obviously, there was a time that people just thought because you have that mutation, you're not AA, therefore you are going to be disadvantaged, and therefore that, So we, and we're in a situation that's different. The economic climate we talked about, the government is having to assess situation. They can't just do a blanket. That one. But if you do have the need and you've been assessed, I'm sure it will be met. And if you're working as well, you have people who are working who, if they're getting family credits, I think with their family credit, maybe they can get also the free prescription, rather than the idea that why can't they just say free prescription, for yes. So I will go about, yes, I'm sure if you have the need, it is being met. Anyway, because if you're on benefit, you don't pay for your prescription anyway. And lots of people are, so very few people are actually affected the idea that I'm not getting free prescription. And then to top it up, I'm now over 60. My prescription is free because everybody who's 60 in this country don't pay for prescription.
Yeah, 60. I think they said they're going to increase it to 65. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, but at least for now. Anyway, so it's not as dire. Nothing bad as the politics.
Yes, okay, that's because I remember some people were saying that they're not getting free prescription. They don't get all these things. They don't get. I think the people working class. I know people that are not working. Yeah, they're on benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
Or working class. Yes, they can only support you with a little. But if you're really working, then you're okay.
Yeah.
So, wow, we've really covered so much ground. And I believe every sickle cell, you might have gained one thing or the other from this. And even people that are not sickle cell, there are so many things we've discussed this today that you can take from this discussion. So anyway, we're rounding it off. Have a wonderful day. And thank you, all viewer, for listening to us.
You're welcome.
And thank you, my guest. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my side of things.
Wow. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.